So to receive this privilege from the public for whom you serve, okay? To receive this privilege from the public for whom you serve, we need to narrow down the administration costs of every one of your offices, and definitely the perks. No gifts. No more gifts for you people. You pay for it. If it's a business expense, you're doing it for, to represent the people.
Well, just fucking do it.
Then what you do is you pay for it out of your own pocket, and at the end of the year you do your income tax, and then you can get that money back. No more big expenses. A small, what do they call it? Cash box. Just. You can have a small budget for expenses, a little cash box for expenses for certain things and that you need, but you don't need to fly around the world. You don't need to eat the best of steak and the best of this and the best of that, and then tell the rest of us to go and eat bugs. You don't need any alcohol. I wish to outlaw any public servant for putting any alcohol on their bill, not even a glass of wine, because wine is alcohol, and you're within a privilege. You're acting within a privilege that the public has granted you. All right, so no alcohol write-offs. If you wish to go to some big summit in a private jet and that, well, you pay for it, and then you can take it off your income tax at the end of it. Otherwise, what I wish to authorize you folks is a big screen TV in your office, and then you and the other folks, the other public servants of other countries can get together, and you can all see each other through your computer and TV screen. That's what I will authorize. Unless you're actually going to meet the public to help or promote something that is important to the public. Yeah, well, that could be what your little bit of cash flow is for, when you operate with the public, for the public. But to meet, you and your pseudoscientist. Did you know that 97% of doctors used to say Marlboro was good for you? That cigarette smoking is good for you? And now we have 97% of 3 pseudoscientists that say CO2 is a pollutant. Get off your pollutant act. It's a lie. You guys are all standing on a lie. You're building a foundation on sand. And I wish it to wash away on you. It's a lie. You people are liars. If not, you're dumber than my axe handle I used to chop wood with. Oh, by the way, I still have to heat my home with wood. Yeah, there's no natural gas here. Oh, and power is through the roof. If I even thought about turning on an electric furnace, oh my God. Well, I would just go bankrupt and lose my home. Simple as that. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I believe in the other video I touch base on energy as it is by law a necessity, and there should be absolutely zero taxes on it. Zero taxes. Zero. Except, of course, fuel, because we need, and you know what we need to do with the fuel tax is what we need to do is put it in a separate bank account like we do with unemployment insurance. It needs to go into its own separate bank account, and then all that money from that tax goes to the roads. And that way we could actually get some decent roads. Instead of going in general revenue and being squandered by by these child kings flying around the world acting like they're Like they have no responsibility and everybody's their slave and servant. Because that's all that's going on right now. What the heck is going on? Did you ever apologize? The man I address is Justin Trudeau. Did you ever apologize for sending those thugs to muscle that grandmother? That lady in Quebec? Did you ever apologize to that woman? It's a disgrace. You're a disgrace. You are a disgrace. That woman is somebody's mother, somebody's wife, somebody's grandmother, somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's cousin. And you serve that woman. How dare you muscle her? And the media, the paid for media, the only, who's the middle class now? Well, it's people who work for the government. Right? So they say 60 to 120 a year is middle class. Okay, I know a couple guys make 100 G's or whatever a year, and guess what? They work 24/7, they're home for 1 week out of 3. But the media, bought and paid for. What can we say for you today? The man I call Justin. What can we do for you today? How can we twist and turn things for you? Oh, did you remember to give me that extra contract for $5 million? How dare you? That poor kid there works for does he work for the Rebel Media? That funny little Jewish guy there that runs Rebel Media. Yeah, he's hilarious sometimes. It's a little silly. But at least there's a voice there. And so that young man, he's a young citizen journalist. And he's in the White House, and he gets to ask questions. He gets to be there. He gets to film it. He goes over to the Canadian consulate down the street, and he's told that he's a Nazi and works for a Nazi, and that he's not allowed in his own consulate. Excuse me, folks, but that's a public building paid for by the public. That man, that young man that may be a great journalist one day should not be being profiled, slandered, and have his good name besmirched in public like that. Now, I did laugh a little bit, and I'm sorry about this, young feller, because you are day-glow white, so it was, it's easy for them just to profile you. Profiling, unless you have a lot of evidence and a merit to unless you have the proof that somebody is actually a Nazi fascist, those are the folks that my grandpa, my other grandpa, there's 3 because the war screwed up my family, and my great, but that's what my grandfathers fought to get to you guys. The last time I checked, we weren't Nazis just because we were white and had a right to express our opinion. And which one of you so-called safe space, tender people who like to profile and abuse other people because we just don't see your point of view? Which one of you guys has gone out of your way to go and help our native cousins get clean water? Yeah, you can say the same thing about me. But I'm not in here accusing everybody of being a fascist because I don't agree with their frickin' opinion. Actually, one of my good friends, and I hate to say it, but it's true. One of my good friends, he spent 7 years up in the University of Alaska. He is as progressive. If he came straight from California, Berkeley, he couldn't be more progressive. This guy is, you should hear the talks we have. Now, honestly, we're still friends. But boy, oh boy. And he does everything that you guys do. And he gives every line that you guys lie. It's like you guys are all parodying the same thing. Right wing this, that. You know, it's just crazy. So anyways, I want to know what you're going to do about the unemployment and fix the unemployment. Make it about 4 lines long and make it concrete and that the government can't touch it. I wish to have all gas tax put into a separate bank account because gas is a necessity and should not be taxed willy-nilly over and above the care of roads. And our roads are not cared for, so we need that separate bank account. We need a bill. Now, I've been thinking that maybe we should start, and maybe I should start, a people's union of this nation. And maybe we, as a people and as a nation, because obviously you people are elites and you're high up there, and you're the critical thinkers. You're the people who know best for everybody. All right. But I was thinking, maybe we as a nation, as the common folk, maybe we can get together and write some legislation and start restricting the government. I've been thinking about maybe starting a national union of the people so that we can start doing something together, because if we don't save this nation, we're done. We're freaking done. There is no nation to save. I watched a film this morning. One man spit in another man's face, so the other man pushed that man, and all of a sudden, and he was an easy mark, man. He was a younger guy with tattoos, and not the guy that did the spitting, the guy that pushed the guy back after getting spat on. But he's a young guy and tough looking guy and some tattoos, and right away the racist card came out. Now, I want to give you guys a custom that goes way back. Okay, that's ours. If somebody does invade your space, okay, so as mankind, we have a duty and obligation and responsibility to our fellow man. We owe the government nothing except for the protection of our property. That's all we owe the government for. Okay, so our public service, which they are willy-nilly stealing from people constantly under the guise of some kind of personhood that they label you as. They profile you and then attack you on the profile that they just profiled you on with no merit behind it. So, anyways, I was thinking about that the other day, and it would be kind of cool if we had some kind of, we might get pushed into coming together and having some kind of national, like as a nation, having some kind of people's union where we could draft up legislation and have it approved by the people, like us come together and vote on it, see what we like and dislike about it, and then basically start looking at these public servants and saying, here's what the people want. Here's what we need. Here's what we require you to do. Get this through. And like I said before, I don't really think lawyers should be public servants rather than hiring, because they are hirelings. They're agents. They're hirelings. They have no standing when they act for you at court. They're just hirelings. They'll throw you under the bus if they're threatened. For the most part, I'm not saying every man who acts as a lawyer is like that, but they sure built a reputation for themselves. Did a lot of you young folks know that when they first set up, I think it was it Plymouth, the first colony, that lawyers were outlawed. That's right, because they have a way of acting as attorneys and turning things around, twisting it around, and so they don't really take the heat when we hire them to represent us. But I'm thinking, look, if you're going to pass some kind of legislation, maybe put it out and have 3 companies, 3 law firms bid out the best bid. Best 3 bids get the thing, and each one can, we can take the common man's draft of the legislation, put it through these 3 law firms, and say, hey, how does this fit within, say, the spirit and the writings of the mandate that the government's supposed to fall under, called the Constitution, Charter, and the British North American Act 1967, and decide whether it's any good or not. I don't think we need to pay so much money to public servants. And so yeah, why don't you guys start taking it out of your own pocket, and then you can get the money back at tax time. Why don't you get some big screen TVs out of the the little cash box that will allow you to have in your office, and that way you can just Skype or whatever your counterparts and that, and you can quit wasting our money on private jet flights and leaving your office. I mean, every time one of you folks leaves your office, what you're doing is you're leaving the people for whom you serve, and so you're not there now to serve these people. So I think it's really important that you people stay, as close to the people that you serve. So and be part of the public that you serve, so that you can understand the weights and measures of your neighborhood, so you can feel the people's agony. You can see what needs to be done, rather than just run around the world and selling us out to the New World Order and the globalists, and look good on TV and look bad on TV. Oh man, the child king, just crazy. So I had in the first film that cut off on me. There's just one thing I just want to say to you guys. Now, the court is like our 4th branch of government. The court is the court buildings do belong to the people, not the legal society. And the court buildings were there so that we could stop, so that we didn't have to fight on the streets. The court buildings are there to offer a public venue, when there's an issue that can't seem to be worked out on the private side. And so the thing is, the politicians, they pass bad laws. And so when they pass a bad law and many people end up in the court system, they're all there as statutory creatures, because most of these laws, the laws are passed in our statutes. So you've heard it before, color of law and whatever, and sure. So you're browbeat, you're coerced, you're tricked, you're just stupid and ignorant because you went to a communist corporation public school, the Crown Corporation public school, or it's supposed to act as a public service for us. So you've never been taught critical thinking. You realize that you have endowed rights. You were born with them on this land. This is a common law land. This is not a Sharia law land. This is not a Napoleonic civil code land. All right, and so our courts, if the government passes a bad law and the unelected Senate passes the bad law and it receives royal assent, or even if it doesn't receive royal assent, and all of a sudden some nameless, faceless accuser has you in court, where not only is the officer the witness, the officer is the enforcer. You got this hireling over on the other side, calls himself a crown or something, a bar, just some guy on the other side, accusing you of doing this and doing that when he wasn't even there, and he's not a first-hand verifiable witness. So as you're getting strung up for breaking a bad law, what we have in every common law nation is a court of record, trial by jury, where the magistrate is independent of the tribunal. And the reason for that is because we are like the people are the government on all our lands, and on these within common law nations, and so the people are the government. And so what we have is, say a bad law does get through the so-called safety net that's supposed to be there, so that no harm, injury, or loss comes to any man or woman on this land through some poor legislation or some child king garbage, that you have a right to be judged by a jury of your peers. And like I say, and like I've said before, a jury trial is statutory by nature. It's a statutory creature in itself. A trial by jury is like de jure. It's of the people, for the people, and by the people, and that means that the magistrate can't interfere and then turn around and say, okay, jury, you must find this man or woman guilty because of this technicality. No, this is where he just keeps it all organized. The one side says their bit, the other side says their bit,
Well, just fucking
and the
do
jury
it.
goes out and judges. And this is our safety net of the free world. This is what we have that is unique to those on a free common law nation that nobody else has on this planet. And it's important to keep it. There is no paperwork for it. It's still law, and it is law, and it is ours, and it is our right. But if you go to the courthouse, you will not be able to find or pay for, a simple filing fee so that you can hold this court. And it's so important because you lose the guns. Okay, so an armed nation keeps the government checked, so they don't go and end up in tyranny, which is why every country that ever was democratic at one time that went socialist and communist, the first thing they did was take away the guns. Free speech. The free speech wasn't given to us by the government, okay? It wasn't given to us by our public service. It wasn't given to us by our main public service, Elizabeth or any other monarch. And remember, the people in the land are one. The Queen and the land are one, and the people in the land are one. And the Queen serves the people at her leisure and at her pleasure. All these public servants have an oath to the Queen. Their oath to the Queen is about keeping the Queen's oath to us. They're the only ones that can be treasonous. Okay, no man or woman on this land that doesn't wish to act as a subject or as a citizen or as some kind of statutory person can be treasonous to the monarch, because we don't serve the monarch. This monarch serves each and every one of us, unless of course we ascribe to something and we're saying, yeah, no, I'm going to be part of this or part of that. And just because I qualify to act as something and may possess a government license that says, yeah, no, you're qualified to act in this, doesn't mean that I am acting as that person at the time. I mean, when I'm home at supper time, I'm a father and a husband with my family, and I'm a family man. So I'm not a Harley mechanic. I'm not a construction worker. I'm not a citizens police force. I'm not any of those persons. Okay, and nobody can force me into it, because I'm a free man on this land, and that's all there is to it. Every one of us, mankind here, is free. This is the free world. All right, so. Remember this, and this is something that people should be asking. Where is our court of record, trial by jury, where the magistrate is independent of the tribunal? That only falls under the common law. So the courts in Canada, they don't like recognizing anything before 1850 or something, for some kind of reason. I don't know. It's not my judiciary; it's theirs. So a friend of mine, he wrote to Queen, and he said pretty much, hey Elizabeth, yeah, no, I'm being told over in Canada that the Magna Carta has been suspended, or is not recognized here, and they don't, and it's suspended. And she wrote him back, And she said, well, geez, that's the first I heard of it. Now, the Queen was over here not too long ago to celebrate the anniversary of the Magna Carta, right? Was it 2017 or something? I don't know. But why are we celebrating a statute? And the Magna Carta is a statute, okay? It's statutory law. But why is it they're celebrating the Magna Carta when it's not recognized? So it's too funny. So here we have a judiciary that doesn't recognize our inherent rights and our culture. Like, we have a culture. Mr. Trudeau, you know, the man I call Justin, yes, we have a culture, buddy. It's been around. Look at our slavery and look at our slave laws and how we were the first to outlaw slavery. How we were, you know, and I believe it was 1770. It was around the time that the American Revolution, so 1776 or something like that. It was 40 years before the Brits did, all right? And it was a Canadian thing. It's unique to us, and it's part of our culture to outlaw slavery in all its forms on this land. That is our culture. And I, you know, I feel really bad for our Native cousins that were stuck on those prisoner of war camps that we call reserves and apartheid for all those years. But, you know, the least we could do is help our Native cousins to get some frickin' clean water. Is that too much to ask, man? But I wanted to read this to you. North America, you know, well, there was Spain, England, and France, basically, that came over North America, but the English side of it. And I want to read this to you, and this was put up by the bar as a what do you call it? To recognize the importance of common law. Now, like I say, the Magna Carta, it was in and out like 3 times. It was because the king was forced by knife point by lords and knights and stuff to sign the Magna Carta the first time. When his son took over his kingship, I believe he beheaded all those guys. And then it came out again, went again, came out again. And I believe it got solidified. It started in the late 11th century, and then got solidified in the early 12th century, and has been a legitimate statute that's never been repealed ever since. And why? You know, does the judiciary now not recognize Canadian culture and the customs of the people and the common law anymore? So here's what even the Legal Society put up. Now, this was put up, like, Virginia was basically one of the first North American English settlements, and Jamestown. And so this is what the Legal Society put up in commemoration of the common law, all right? The common law. Here, the common law of England was established on this continent with the arrival of the first settlers on May 13, 1607. The first charter granted by James I to the Virginia Company in 1606 declared that the inhabitants of the colony shall have and enjoy all liberties, franchises, immunities as if they had been abiding and born within this our realm of England. Now, I just want to mention that the Virginia Trading Company was also a crown corporation, just like the Hudson's Bay Company was. Now, it was Victoria who bought the Hudson's Bay Company back from you know, the board. It was a board of directors and so on and so forth. That I think it was Prince Rupert that was. He was kind of like the CEO of it or the president or something. So anyways, bought it back and then created Canada. And Canada still is a corporation that operates under a corporate charter. So we've never had a de jure government here. We've never had a de jure constitution here, not one province and not the nation as a whole, which is fine. I mean, I think Southern Ireland is the only true republic left on the planet right now. The States is a republic. The United States of America is a republic, but the United States is their de facto corporation that has been running instead of the de jure government. It's all history stuff, guys. But